Today we are talking about mental health and decluttering. I have had a long-standing battle with my mental health and a long-standing battle with clutter and just fighting to keep things organized and clean and tidy. So I think this is a great time to talk about it. We're kind of in this transitional time of the year, just depending on where you are, I guess. But where I live, we are in third winter. I don't know. We've had some false starts to spring, but I have just really been struggling lately, and cleaning out my walkout basement the other day was, it was a big challenge. But I did it anyway. So today's video, we are gonna look at the footage of me cleaning out that area. It was just a real catch-all room that was a disaster, but I had to clean it out because my husband needed to fix something on the ceiling. And so to have a bunch of stuff there just wasn't gonna work because things were gonna get ruined if I didn't clean it out. So that's what we did. I cleaned it out. He did help at the end and kind of finished things up. And we're just going to talk about that. We're going to talk through how I was able to manage to do it despite the mental state I was in, and also despite having a sick toddler who was awake and needing support as well. And we're just going to get into it. We're going to get into the reality of what it's like to take care of a home when you are struggling to take care of yourself. All right, let's get to the basement. So walking down, you can see here it is, the mess that exists in this area. On the left, we have my daughter playing, but we also have just a bunch of junk on the ground. This cabinet was purchased to put our coats in, which some of them are, but most of them are still scattered about. This is the exercise machine that I told my husband we would never use, and we haven't ever used. This is where my son plays video games usually. This is just the catch-all of everything. These are boxes that need to be donated, and most of it donated. And then this is where all of our shoes get dumped. And you can see that there were a few things that we purchased again to try and stay organized, but that didn't work out quite how we had hoped. So now that you've seen everything, well, I guess this is the next thing you'll see is just the laundry room, and the bathroom is a little disheveled. So that's pretty much it for the area and showing you what we're working with. I'm going to get to the mental health talk soon because you can watch the video and just see what I'm working on. I did some laundry. I'm going to try and throw all the garbage away. I'm going to organize some stuff, take some things out. You'll be able to see all of that. That's fine. But the more important part is the mental health piece here, because I think anyone who is struggling with decluttering, or anyone who's spending time watching videos about decluttering, I think there's probably something going on. I don't want to say there's something wrong with us, and I'm including myself. I don't think there's something wrong with us, but I do think that if you're watching this, I know you have a strong, deep desire to improve. And I know that you deeply desire a better life for yourself and probably for your family as well. Because if you didn't care, you wouldn't bother spending time thinking about or watching videos about decluttering your home. And something struck me the other day. I was looking at my analytics on my last video, which was a decluttering video, and it was viewed 100% by women. Okay, there are probably a couple of men who watch my channel, but the vast majority are women. And I think that's significant because women are carrying such an incredible mental load an emotional load for their families by always thinking about the house, thinking about what their home should feel like, what it should look like, thinking about the meals, thinking about the groceries, thinking about the people in your family. Like, what do they need? What size do they wear? Where do they need to be on every single day of the week? What activities would they like, perhaps? What summer camp would they prefer? What summer camp can we afford? What is our budget? I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And I don't know about you, but I am just so exhausted and overwhelmed. And for a lot of the time, I'm trying to ward off resentment and bitterness. And so what's coming up for me as I'm engaging in all of these decluttering projects around the house is, one, I am happy that I'm doing them, certainly, because I want to declutter my house. I want my home to be a welcoming place, a peaceful place, a place where we can all enjoy our time together as a family, and just feel a sense of being okay, right? And not a sense of anxiety or being annoyed at how things are in the house, or that there's too much here, or we can't sit at the table over here because there's too much stuff. So I am happy for this process, but it also is bringing to the surface a lot of that resentment and sadness and hurt that I feel alone. I feel alone in this process. And I don't say that to, put my husband down at all, or my son, who is a able-bodied 12-year-old boy. I don't resent them as humans, but I think what I resent is sort of the system that has been set up. And that can mean a lot of things. That's a societal system, but also just a system that I have allowed in our home. I have taken this on. This is my project, right? Or the dishes is another thing, right? Like, that's just something that I've sort of allowed to fall on my plate. And so I can't really be mad at them for not participating if I'm not requiring their participation, or inviting their participation, I guess would be another way to say it. So that's my goal this year, is to invite help from my family members so that I don't feel this bitterness and resentment that I'm doing it by myself. But that also plays into mental health in that, if you have some depression or anxiety, or if you, like I have premenstrual dysphoric disorder, which is just a fancy way of saying that I get really grumpy for a couple weeks every month. If you're dealing with anything like that, or, anything even more severe than that, right? You get into like bipolar disorder or schizoaffective disorder, things like that are very serious. It can become very overwhelming to keep your mind and your mindset in a healthy place where you're making the choice to not be resentful, or you're making the choice to speak up for yourself and get the help that you need as you need it, instead of letting it build up and build up and build up until you lose it. And then your family looks at you like you are, out of your mind. And why are you yelling? And why are you so mad? And it's not that big of a deal. And why can't you just relax? I think that's how that happens. You just try to push through day after day after day and just do the thing without talking about it or processing it or expressing how you feel. And then eventually you just kind of lose it. You can't hold it in anymore. So when I was cleaning up this basement, that is sort of the mindset that I was in. And looking at me, you might not know that. I mean, I was listening to the music that was playing on my daughter's show and bouncing around a little bit. But on the inside, I was really struggling and feeling sad and hurt and resentful that I knew I was going to clean this up and that the likelihood of it staying cleaned up was so low. And the reality was that this might stay tidy for a few days or maybe even a couple weeks, but that eventually our family's habits and the amount of things that we owned were going to put us back into this state again. And this, oh, yeah, those are my lab coats from the hospital. That's more identity clutter. Sad. Also, let's talk about the transition from being a working person to being a stay-at-home parent. That was one of the hardest things I have ever done. Definitely not an easy transition for me mentally at all. And I'm so grateful that I got to stay home with my daughter. So, so grateful. But at the same time, I lost so much. I lost that identity as, an intelligent, highly educated person and professional who worked at a prestigious hospital. I took a lot of pride in that. And then to be reduced to, a toddler's servant was not an easy thing. It was not an easy thing. So I'm actually really excited to go back and start working again and to be starting a new business with my friend. Oh, and here is some more identity clutter that and there's my daughter. So sweet. So what I'm looking at here is a program from the musical I was in high school. Yeah. I was in Carousel. I was the lead dance role in Rodgers and Hammerstein's Carousel in Los Angeles. I went to an arts high school. And then this is all just stuff that I did actually take to shred. So anyway, back to mental health and clutter. So what do we do? What do we do about clutter? And those black pumps that I literally will never wear, but I'm keeping anyway. I don't know why. I should go back down there and just get rid of them right now. But yeah, decluttering and mental health. So what I'm going to say is going to be upsetting and probably controversial, but what we do, well, I don't know what you do, but what I am doing this year is I'm just doing it anyway. Because if I wait for the perfect time, if I wait to feel motivated, if I wait to, be in a good mood, I will never take on a decluttering project because it never feels like the fun thing to do. I like the results. I definitely like the results, but I don't ever really feel like getting started with something like this because it's not fun, especially when, you don't feel good, your kid doesn't feel good. Those are some good shoes, by the way. I just bought those. Those are Birkenstocks. If you're looking for fun spring shoes, I'm not saying you should buy them, because definitely don't buy more things if you don't need it. But those are my new favorite shoes. Sorry, I got distracted. Anyway, this year I'm just doing it anyway. That is my motto this year. Is I don't feel like it, but I'm going to do it anyway. And that's actually 95% of why I started this channel, because if I have a weekly uploading schedule that I know I need to put out one video every week, then I need to pick one thing every week that I'm going to clean up. And then I get all of this amazing feedback and encouragement and suggestions and all of that when I post the video. So if you need motivation, I don't know, maybe start your own YouTube channel. I know that's not practical for everybody, but it has certainly been a huge help for me in giving myself accountability as I'm doing that. Oh, that is when I first was hanging out with my husband and son. My son is my husband's son. But now he's my son. And that's when we went to medieval times. So nice. So what's the other thing? So I'm telling you that for me, what is working is that I have just made a commitment to just do it anyway. Just do it anyway. Even if I don't feel like it, I'm just going to do it anyway. And I have so far. I just do it. And I don't always have time to make it perfect. I don't always have time to make it look exactly how I want it at the end. You'll see at the end of this video that it is much improved from when I started, but it is not perfect. And that's okay. It's better. I made progress and it's better. And I took all of those boxes to the donation center and donated them. So I am proud of myself. And if that doesn't sound good to you, if that sounds unreasonable, I get it. I mean, it sounded unreasonable to me a few months ago. I had a million reasons why I couldn't do it or didn't want to do it. And I didn't. And then that was just how my house was. So that's okay. If that's where you're at, that's fine. That's where I was at for 40 years. There's nothing to be ashamed about. That's just how it is for a lot of people. But I think something sort of like cracked in me where I realized that I've started a few videos this way, but like I'm sick of living this way. And I think it's sort of like an addiction issue, right? It's almost like hitting rock bottom. Like at some point, the discomfort of the way that you're living becomes greater than the addiction to just continuing to do what you're doing and what you've always done. So for me, I had a rock bottom moment. I turned 40. I looked around at how I was living. My finances were a mess. My house was a mess. My spending was a mess. My relationship with my family and my husband was not a mess, but it wasn't great. And my eating and my weight was a mess. And so I just kind of decided to do an overhaul. And it's not perfect. It's not all going great. You can see my body in this video. It's not perfect, but it's getting better. It's getting better a little bit at a time. And my house is getting better a little bit at a time. And my spending and finances are getting better a little bit at a time. And so at some point, you just have to make a choice. And I'm really sorry if that's offensive, but that's what's working for me. And it took me a long, long time to come to that. And it took me a long time to admit that I was the only thing that was getting in my way. But I think that for me, that's the truth. And for you, that might not be. There might be reasons why it's harder for you. And I totally understand that. But for me, admitting that my clutter and my struggles weren't going to get fixed unless I decided to fix them, that's what helped. So that is it. This is the final product. I'm sorry if that was upsetting at all, but I hope it was helpful in some way, or at least interesting. And thanks so much for watching.